We are live this morning. Stacy Blackwood, Jake Thomas, Tide Talk Live. How's everybody doing this morning? Jake, what's up, buddy?
Man, I'm doing great, Stacy. Glad to be back. Got an action-packed show for us today, this morning, really. But man, I'm excited because, like we was talking about before the show started, 42 days
Yeah,
into football season. So
yeah,
bring it on.
yeah. 42 days until Alabama takes on Florida State in Tallahassee. 11 days until Alabama begins fall camp. So football is right around the corner, and of course, we're going to be talking about SEC media days, and I really feel like that's when the college football season
Yep.
starts. It's once media day week rolls around, and the coaches are they're taking the podium, players are taking the podium, and the teams are getting ready to start fall camp. So media days is kind of the start of the college football season. That was this past week. We're going to dive into all that on today's show. We'll give our conference champion picks. We'll look at what the media members selected from SEC media days, and we'll look at which Alabama players landed on the All SEC preseason team. So we'll talk about all that here on this live edition of Tide Talk Live. But we do want to hear from you guys in the comment section. So make sure you jump into the live chat, and we would love to get everybody's opinion on the Crimson Tide and media days as a whole. But before we get to that, as always, make sure you do like, share, and subscribe. We're over 2,800 subscribers now. I think we've gained over 70 subscribers in the last couple weeks. So our channel is growing now that we're back doing regular shows after taking a little bit of a break. So make sure you do subscribe to the channel. Help us reach that goal of 3,000 subscribers before August 30th. Let's get that goal, get to 3,000 before the kickoff against Florida State, and that would be greatly appreciated. We're also brought to you by and powered by the Believe Network, so make sure
Mhm.
you find us there. You can find us on any podcast platform, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music. Make sure you give us a subscription there, a follow, and leave us those 5-star reviews there on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We would greatly appreciate that. Jake, SEC Media Days is a wrap. And, obviously all the teams were there. It felt like maybe there was a couple days where nothing really happened. It was
Yeah.
kind of a quiet media days, in my opinion. Now, I didn't quite follow it as much as I usually do, simply because of my work schedule this week. I was coming off vacation and I was just slammed at work, so I couldn't really,
Yep.
pay too close attention to it. But Lane Kiffin didn't really make any noise, like he
Mm.
normally does. He seems to be, you know, calming down a little bit. Just really wasn't a ton going on. It was really quiet, but I thought overall a pretty good week there in Atlanta. Just your overall thoughts of media days this week.
Yeah, Stacy. Really, the only, I guess, excitement and kind of blemish was the Sarkeesian walking out to with the A&M fight song. That was pretty funny. But and then Mike Elko saying, if you thought I was going to walk out to the Eyes of Texas and you lost a bet, that was pretty much it. But yeah, it was kind of quiet, and some of the stars showed up, and then a lot of people talked. Now Alabama wise, you know I like the focus, especially with the players, what they talked about. They've been hearing all the noise. Thomas Castellanos just continues just to run his mouth. And I understand. I know Saban is not there anymore, but that mentality, I still believe, is still in that building where, you don't want to give Alabama any kind of bulletin board material before you play them,
Right.
and he is definitely doing that. And it's kind of strange to see him talk so much, but and there was a thing that come out a few weeks ago, and there was a video that Cam Ward and Isaiah Horton, he was talking to them about it, and Isaiah Horton actually heard him say that, and Thomas Castellanos was like, "Look, I'm trying to pump up my team because I mean they was 2-10 last year. They've got to be better this year than they were. I mean they brought in Gus Malzahn. We talked about all that, but Deontay Lawson made the comment, said all disrespect will be handled on the field,
Accordingly.
yeah, accordingly. So I hope that mentality is still there game one, because we've talked about it, Stacey. This defense has a chance to be one of the best, in a while at Alabama. I mean, this defense is deep. It's a very veteran type defense. Got a lot of players back from last year's team. So I'm a yeah, exactly, Mimi. Thank you for joining this morning. But so I'm excited about the mentality. It seems like the mentality is there. It's all Alabama focused. The standard, and was the standard. We didn't live up to the standard last year, and even Kalen DeBoer mentioned that. So seems like the focus is in the right place for this team moving forward.
Yeah, for sure, and I do like the way the players kind of address that. They kind of put their own, it really wasn't much trash talk. It was just like, hey, we'll handle that when it's time to handle that. So,
Right.
they have all fall camp to get ready. The first 3 weeks of fall camp is about the fundamentals, about developing, and then
Hmm.
you get in the game week, and that's when you start game planning, getting ready for Florida State. So, they still got a while before they're really focused on Florida State. So
Hmm.
I thought Lawson's answer and the way the team kind of addressed that was about as good as you could handle that situation. And just excited about the season coming up. And you mentioned the defense. I think you have to be excited about that. And there was two defensive players there for Alabama at media days. But you mentioned Deontay Lawson, but also Tim Keenan. And I thought it was Tim Keenan he's such a leader. He's such
Yeah.
a kind of older elder statesman of the team. I mean, a guy he's entering his 5th year, just like Deontay Lawson. They've been there a while. They know what the standard is at Alabama. They understand that as a team, they didn't quite meet that standard last year. You mentioned how Coach DeBoer talked about that as well, and I thought that the way Tim Keenan kind of carried himself, just kind of man, he looked like a pro. He was
Yeah.
just he was never out of his element. He just talked about all the right things. He talked about how the players look up to him, but who they should look up to is his savior. And so
Right. Amen.
it's just the way he handled himself was just top notch. And when I think about this team and think about guys like Deontay Lawson and Tim Keenan and Caden Proctor, who was also there. And then you think about all the guys who could have went instead of those three players. You realize the leadership that this team has. And Coach DeBoer brought that up, how there's 17 seniors on this team, which is nearly double what they had last year.
Hmm.
Jake, that's huge. When you have That's what helped Ohio State win a national championship last year. That's
Yep.
what helped Michigan win a national championship year before last, was having those upperclassmen, those seniors who have been there, been through the ups and downs, been through the peaks and the valleys. And Alabama has that here in 2025 with those 17 seniors. Like I said, nearly double what they had last year. That makes a huge difference with your team.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacy. And something that we have talked about, but I don't feel like it's been mentioned a ton, but how this coaching staff retained everybody in, this last transfer portal. I mean, you talk about them building the trust and building, you know, getting the players to buy into to what they want to instill here at Alabama. And that's incredible that this coaching staff was able to retain so many guys and especially so many leaders, and brought them back for this year's team. Now, I really think the sky's the limit for this team if injuries doesn't start piling up, kind of like what happened last year. But you talked about Caden Proctor. I know one of the funny things about he talked about was he had 170 bottles of cologne because there's a theory about fat people stink, and he was like, I want to change that narrative. So I thought that was pretty funny. But talking about Caden Proctor and the offensive line, outside of the two spots that are got to be filled, this offensive line can be very dominant this year because you have a leader in Caden Proctor. You have a vocal leader like Jaden Roberts. You got Parker Barrelsford, who's a great center and probably going to be one of the best centers that's come out into the draft, this coming up year. So, you have some leadership and you have a ton of experience there. And that experience is going to help, and leadership is going to help develop those two other position guys to get in there. And this offensive line is going to be able to make holes for this running game, and I believe is going to be able to protect, Ty Simpson, and is going to help his development further on into the year as well.
No doubt. And when you talk about the offensive line, you talked about Caden Proctor. One of my most favorite quotes of the entire week from Caden Proctor was the fact that I don't know if you saw this or not. When Pro Football Focus come out and said that Alabama had the best offensive line entering the season
Hmm.
in terms of returning players and what they have coming back.
Yep.
And Caden Proctor was kind of asked about that, and he said, "We haven't proved anything."
Yeah.
That's the type of mentality you have to have. He talked about how they have to get they're not worrying about that. They're trying to get ready for the season, working on their strength, working on their technique. So I thought that type of answer is what you got to have. That's the type of mentality you have to have if you want to talk about continuous improvement, getting better, not putting the cart before the horse, and just making sure you put your head down, you put in the work, and you get ready for the season. And I thought that was a great answer. One of my
Yep.
favorite quotes of the entire week from an Alabama player, and just really excited about now that media days is kind of behind us. That's when you know the season is getting here.
Yeah.
And as far as Kalen DeBoer, he's you can't take a lot from what he says. He's a lot of coach speak. He's not
Yep.
gonna give you anything. He just kinda runs in circles on answers. He's not gonna give anything away.
Right.
And Saban was not so much that way. He was never coach speak. He just kinda said what he wanted to say, and if he didn't wanna answer a question, he'd just say, "I'm not answering that stupid question," So,
Yeah.
it's they kinda get to the same place, but different ways, and,
Mhm.
I thought Kalen DeBoer did a pretty good job in his segment there with media days and, all his interviews, and, I think the lingering question everybody wants to know is obviously the quarterback situation, and everybody's asking about that, and I don't know what people were thinking to was gonna change between spring ball
Mhm.
and right now and media
Right.
days. It's been the
Right.
summer. Nothing is going on as far as team activities, as far as somebody moving up the depth chart. Nothing's changed. So, at the end of spring ball, Ryan Grubb first said, if we play today, Ty would be our starting quarterback. And, in an interview after that, Kalen DeBoer kind of echoed that sentiment, saying, yeah, I mean, if we were playing today, Ty would be our quarterback. And of course, he's asked at media days. And like I mentioned, nothing's going to change throughout the summer.
Right.
And he was asked, and he said, "Yeah, if we're playing today, Ty Simpson's our quarterback." So I'm not sure what the media was searching for. I know they have to ask those type questions, but common sense kind of tells you nothing's going to change. Is in terms of the quarterback, Jake. Do you expect it to be Ty? I think is it. I don't want to say written in stone. Do you expect anything to change between now and August 30th in terms of who's going to be the starting quarterback against the Seminoles?
I really don't. Russell is definitely the future, and he's got all the talent in the world. But can he? His development. He's going to have to develop into this league, and really throwing a freshman quarterback into the SEC play is very tough. Now, there's been times where it's been done,
Yeah,
but Ty that leadership and been in that program for what 3, 4 years now. He knows that playbook. He knows how things are run. He knows how the offense is run. So I feel like he, of course, is the leader, and I really think that he's going to secure that position and that spot, hit QB1 in the fall camp. And I'm fine with that because I really think Ty is going to surprise people this year. He's been kind of on the back burner. You've seen kind of what he's capable of. You haven't really seen a lot, but now this is his team. This is his offense. I really think he's going to show up and show out this year. Honestly.
yeah, I agree 100%. I think,
Mhm.
like I said, I don't want to say it's written in stone because anything can happen. I mean, you never know.
Mhm.
But Ty's a talented kid. He was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school for a reason. When you're a 5-star quarterback, that means you have tools. So
Yep.
Ty has tools. He's now entering year 4. He's had a chance to
Mhm.
develop, mature, grow, sit behind a starting quarterback who's now in the NFL. For whatever you want to say about Milrow, he was picked in the 3rd round NFL draft. That means you're a
Yeah.
dang good football player and the NFL likes you. So he
Mhm.
sat behind NFL talent. He knows what it's like to play in the SEC. He's seen it firsthand for a couple seasons as a backup. I think Ty is ready to take over as a starting quarterback, and I'm excited to see what he does this fall. I'm with you, Jake.
Yep.
I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, and just I think he's going to be a good football player. But anything else in terms of Alabama that you want to add from media days? Because there is something I want to talk about real quick in terms of arrival.
No, I don't have much of anything else to touch on. What you got?
I just thought it was interesting, Jake, how confident Hugh Freeze seemed about his team. And
Yeah.
and and I
I mean,
I know you laughed there, and
yeah.
look, it is kind of funny to chuckle at it, knowing what's happened the first couple of years that he's there. but he does have the best roster he's had since he's been there. There's no
Yeah, for
question
sure.
about that. Now they've had a couple of arrests the last couple of weeks, and
Mhm.
I don't want to talk about that because we don't know the situation. There's no sense in dogging a kid when we don't know what's happened.
Right.
But he was extremely confident, and I just, what's your thoughts on that overall, Jake? Are you buying Hugh Freeze being that confident in his team? Talking about, I don't know if you
Mm.
heard him say that he thought they would be in playoff contention.
I mean, it all goes to quarterback play, and I'm on record here. I'm on record on my other show, SEC After Dark. Uh, I'm not sold on Jetson Arnold. Now, Brent Venables, he talked about how they wanted to retain him. Now, he was a 5-star talent, coming out of high school, and he went to Oklahoma, and I understand that. And I know he was throwing to guys they was pointing out of the stands last year because they
Yeah.
had injuries everywhere. But he did get benched halfway through the year because he was struggling. Now, is that his fault, the way the offensive line played last year and the way he had nobody to throw to? You know, but the thing about it is Auburn last year, I feel like would have been a lot better because they had one of the best running backs in the country in Jacquez Hunter, and they ran him 13 times a game.
Yeah.
And that's a Hugh Freeze mentality on offense. So when you have a talented running back like that, you've got to get more carries out of him. And there was one game, I think, the first half against Kentucky last year, he ran for over 100 yards, like 140 yards, I think. A guy like that can break off a run at any time, and he can really lead an offense. Now that guy's not there. You do have some talented wide receivers. Cam Coleman is one of the best in the SEC. They brought in
Eric
Cunningham,
Singleton. Eric
Singleton.
Singleton.
Yeah, Singleton is there now. So they've got talent, but can Jackson Arnold make the plays for this team? For them to be successful. It remains to be seen. I'm not 100% sure. Now, if he, has a great year, then I think they will be able to win 8 to 9 games. But being playoff contention, a 3-loss SEC team, don't matter who it is, I think it's going to be very tough to get looked at to be in the playoffs, especially in the 12-team playoff. Now, when it moves to 16, maybe a little bit different story.
Mhm.
But 3-loss team is going to be tough to reach that 12-team status.
Yeah, I agree with you, and you pretty much summed. Now I'll say this: you said you're not a Jackson Arnold believer. The
Mhm.
way I would put it is that the jury's still out on Jackson
Right.
Arnold.
Yeah.
That's the way I would put it,
Mhm.
and because he's a toolsy guy,
Yep.
he's actually really similar to Ty as far as the way he can spin the ball,
Mhm.
the way he plays, more athletic than given credit for. But a lot of quarterback comes to right here. So
Right.
we'll see where Jackson Arnold's at on there. So I'm with you. I think they're going to be a good team. But Jake, just looking at their schedule,
Oof.
I think I don't know if anybody has a more important game week 1 than Auburn,
Baylor at Baylor.
because they're obviously better than Baylor. They have a better roster, more talent, but it's at Baylor to start the season. You're still kind of learning about yourself in the first game. They have to beat Baylor, Jake,
Mhm.
because if you go down that schedule a little bit, for
Mhm.
3 straight weeks, they have at Oklahoma, at A&M, and then home for Georgia. If you lose that Baylor game and then don't win any of those 3 games, you're
Mhm.
sitting at 2-4 at the
Right.
halfway point of the season,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure Hugh Freeze survives that.
I know.
So, I think that week 1 matchup against Baylor is massive for Auburn and Hugh Freeze, but that's enough talk for Auburn. I thought it was just interesting how confident he was,
Mhm.
in his team. And look, I think coaches need to be confident, and he should be more confident than he's been in the last 2 years, because the roster is just so much better. Now it will be interesting to see what happens with Malcolm Simmons. You talked about Cam Coleman
Mhm.
and Eric Singleton, but Malcolm Simmons is a great player too. And if he's not that third receiver option, where do they go after that? They have Perry Thompson and some other talented players, but Malcolm Simmons is a game changer. And if he, I don't know what the situation is like there, but he's very important to this team as well. But
Yep.
I just thought it was interesting how confident Hugh Freeze was in his team. But now let's kind of talk about what the the media members voted on as far as the projected order of finish for the SEC here in 2025. Uh, I'll run down the list quickly, and then we'll kind of talk about it. Texas 1, Georgia 3, or 2, Bama 3, LSU 4, South Carolina 5, Florida 6, Ole Miss 7, A&M 8, Tennessee 9, Oklahoma 10, Auburn 11, Missouri 12th, Vandy 13th, Arkansas 14th, Kentucky 15th, and Mississippi State 16th. Just right off the top of your head, what's the most surprising thing about that projected order?
The most surprising to me is, Florida at 6. I think they're going to be a lot better. 6 in that list there, you're looking at an 8 to 9 win Florida team, and their schedule is absolutely brutal. I mean, it's flipped from last year. It's the same as that team's. Now they do get some good matches at home, but I really think that Billy Napier is going to be able to have some success this year. It all depends on DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway, if healthy, is probably one, if not the best quarterback in the conference. Maybe below Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, but he's very talented. But if he's hurt halfway through the season, then their season is probably tanked. But I really think Florida is going to be a lot better. South Carolina, I think, is in a good position there. And another team that's kind of surprising, number 10, Oklahoma, I think they're going to be a little bit better too. Are they going to be better in Tennessee? It remains to be seen. So you might be able to flip 9 and 10 there. Just depends on how it plays out the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's so crazy. This is obviously just talking season still because the season hasn't started. But there's a few things that kind of stand out to me. And, this is why context is so important, because I look at a team like Missouri all the way down at 12th, but then I look at their schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, they get South Carolina at home, they get Alabama at home. Their two of the SEC road games are at Auburn and Vanderbilt. Auburn, you don't know about them. Vanderbilt, I mean, despite having Diego Pavia back and despite them beating Alabama at home last year, I mean, that's a winnable game for Missouri. You get A&M at home, you get Mississippi State at home. You do have to go to Oklahoma and Arkansas, but Jake, that's about as favorable an SEC schedule that you can get.
Yeah.
And so, not because I think Missouri is just going to be some great football team, but that schedule just sets up nicely for them to go 10-2. I mean, seriously, and 6-2 in conference play. So I don't know. I just because their non-conference schedule, Jake. Good. First of all, they don't leave. They don't have an away game until they go to Auburn on October 18th.
Yeah, the first 6 or 7 games are at home. Yeah. That's crazy.
So Missouri is not because I think they're a great football team, but that schedule just sets up for them to finish a little higher than 12th in the league.
Yeah.
You mentioned Oklahoma with John Mateer there and the offensive coordinator following him in Washington State as well to Oklahoma. They're going to be better on the offensive line. They're obviously going to be better at wide receiver because they're not all injured. So I think they're probably a little better than that. Tennessee, Jake, what are they going to look like with Nico gone? That's such an interesting team. A&M, of course, if Marcel Reed can kind of take that next step in his development, they're going to play good defense under Mike Elko. So Ole Miss, are people sleeping on Ole Miss? I don't know. It's just this is one of the most up in the air seasons in the SEC, in my opinion. Now, I will say this. There's 4 teams that I'm extremely confident in that are going to be good football teams. That's Texas, Georgia, Bama, and LSU. I'm really confident in those 4 teams.
Yeah.
And then I think there's another 4 or 5 teams that I think could be in that second tier, and that's South Carolina, Florida, Ole Miss, A&M, Oklahoma. And I'm up in the air on Tennessee. I really don't know what to think about them at all.
Yeah.
They lost so much defensive talent, especially in the front 7. They lost their best receivers. They lost their running back. Nico left. Josh Heupel has got his hands full, but I'll say this: I think Heupel's a good coach.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to figure something out for them to get to 8 wins. And if they get to 9 wins, Jake, that's one of the best coaching jobs in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who knows about Auburn? Missouri's schedule's so favorable; they're going to be up there regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of have those teams like Vandy and Arkansas, Kentucky, and Mississippi State, where I think they're all probably improved from what they were last year, but somebody's got to finish in the bottom of the conference.
Yeah.
And so I do think the projected order of finish is pretty close. You could swap some teams around a little bit, but man, I think Jimmy Stein says he believes 6 or 7 SEC teams are going to go 6-2 in conference play.
Wow.
And when I sit here and think about these teams, that's not crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the conundrum, Jake. If there's that many teams that go 6-2 in conference play, who the heck gets in the playoff?
And there's gonna be a lot of tie breaking and all that going on. It's gonna be hard to decipher. Now, one of those teams or two of those teams, they'll be playing the SEC championship game. So if they lose, whoever loses that will probably get shuffled back a little bit.
Will they?
Will be.
Will they?
Who knows? If it's close, if it's like a field goal game or goes into overtime like last year's win, who knows if they will?
I mean, that's because the age old argument is, do you punish the team that has to play in the conference championship game and loses?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't know, man. This year is setting up to be one of the most insane years in the SEC. Obviously, now that Oklahoma and Texas are there, I mean, we talked about it when they were brought in the conference that once Texas was in the SEC, they were going to be a problem.
Yeah.
They were going to be a problem. And then NIL kicked in as well. They're going to be a problem there. So now I'll say this about Texas. Their defense is going to be elite. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 starters on the offensive line are gone.
Yep.
Top 3 receivers are gone. Tight end is gone. An experienced quarterback is gone.
Mm-hmm.
I think their top rusher's gone too, right?
I think so.
So they have a lot of question marks.
Mm-hmm.
But they got talent, and Steve Sarkisian can coach. So they're going to be up there amongst the 4 best teams in the conference. And so I don't know. This year is setting up to be insane.
Well, you talked about Texas. So let's say week 1 they beat Ohio State, and then they go on to lose 2 games in the conference. I mean, that Ohio State win is still going to keep them in the top 10 for sure, more than likely. So
even if they don't make the conference championship game,
right? Exactly. So
that's the situation. I like. It's just wild to think about how crazy this could get. Let's say Texas, like you just mentioned, you bring up a great point.
Mm-hmm.
Texas beats Ohio State week 1, but they go on to lose 2 SEC games, finish 10-2, 6-2 in conference play, and let's say it's Bama and Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's already got a win over the other one.
Yep.
So the loser, let's just say, for argument's sake, and so we don't sound like a bunch of fanboys, let's say Alabama beats Georgia in Athens, but loses to Georgia in Atlanta.
Right.
Let's say both teams now have 2 conference losses.
Mm-hmm.
Texas also has a conference loss. Let's say LSU lost to Alabama in the regular season, lost to Clemson in week 1.
Yeah.
But they only have that 1 conference loss. It was to Alabama, so Alabama held the tiebreaker over them from the regular season. LSU and Texas are sitting home on SEC weekend, but Georgia beats Alabama. So you have Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and Texas all sitting there at 10-2 or 11-2.
Mm-hmm.
Are all 4 going to get in?
They deserve it.
But what if South Carolina's 10-2? What if Florida's 10-2? I mean, how the heck do that? Oklahoma could go 10-2.
Right.
What the heck is this committee going to do? I don't know, Jake. This and then we're only talking about the Big Ten and what could go on there.
I know. Right.
It's just I don't know, man. It's crazy. This year might be the most insane year of college football ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been more parity than there is right now.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting to look at. I may ask you, what's the biggest surprise in this list?
Yeah, I said Florida.
Okay, Florida.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mine would probably be Oklahoma. or Missouri.
Mhm.
And like I said, I don't think Missouri's a great team, but my gosh, if you could have a favorable schedule in the SEC, they got it.
Yeah. Thing with Missouri, they lost Brady Cook and they lost Luther Burden.
Yeah.
So you lost two top guys, on their offense.
And some talented defensive players.
Right.
But they
So,
just always seem to have those, redshirt juniors that have been there forever and
yep,
just turn into good players. I mean, that's a good program. They're a
it
good
is.
program.
Yep.
Uh, anything else as far as the order of finish, Jake?
Not really. I think that from that order of finish, the SEC media people think that Georgia will beat Alabama and Athens, which is it's a favorable schedule for them or matchup for them because they are at home. But yeah, the parity, like you said, it could get absolutely insane. We could have some surprises. Like I said, Texas beats Oklahoma the first week, Ohio State the first week of the season. That is insane. But with an emergence of Oklahoma, perhaps they could lose. They could lose to Oklahoma in the regular season. So it's just insane. So Alabama, they are going to be really good this year defensively and I think offensively as well. But it's hard to say, and especially in this environment now that you go undefeated. So I do think Alabama probably lose probably one or two games this year in conference.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and
Mhm.
and we'll have an episode shortly where we kind of do a full season prediction for Alabama before the season gets started. Now, Jake, real quick, an SEC team who's going to have a nice surprise, an SEC team who's going to have a surprise in the negative.
No, not surprised. I'm sticking with my guns on Florida. I
Okay.
really think. Again, it all hinges on DJ Lagway. If he's healthy, this team is going to be pretty good. And it did kind of surprise me that he hasn't had any kind of like procedure done on that shoulder that he hurt in the off season. But I mean, if he says he's 100%, it's not bothering him, then you got to believe the guy because I mean he's probably throwing around the backyard or something right now. And if it feels good, it feels good. Just so I think that Billy Napier is a good coach and he's going to get this team right with DJ Lagway, and they're going to surprise some people. And a team in the negative, man, you talked about Tennessee. I just don't know anything about this team right now. I've heard people say that they actually upgraded at quarterback when they got the guy coming from UCLA. I just didn't watch anything from UCLA last year, so because
I
when they
forgot they
play,
played football.
I know, and whenever they play, it's midnight here, so I'm already in bed. So I have not seen how their quarterback's going to be now. Like you said, Josh Heupel's a great coach. The defense is going to be really good, and the way he wants to run an offense, so it's fast paced. And who do can that quarterback run a fast paced offense? I don't know. And who's going to run the ball for them? Because if the quarterback's struggling, you can like last year, you could always go to Dylan Sampson.
Right.
He's not there now. So a running back's going to step up. So I don't know. Tennessee could win 8 games and still have a successful season, but they could also look at a 6-6 year. And how's that going to be? I know that's going to be a negative for them for sure.
That both of those are excellent picks, Jake. And the way you kind of explain your thought process was
Mhm.
great stuff. My surprise team in the positive, I'm going to go Ole Miss, Jake.
Mhm.
Last year they entered the season with a lot of hype. They had
Yeah.
Jackson Dart returning. They had so much talent returning on that team, both offensively and defensively. Then they kind of, I don't want to say they fell apart, but they kind of pulled an Alabama where they lost to a couple teams they shouldn't have lost to,
Right.
Kentucky and Florida.
Mhm.
Well, you fast forward to this year, media predicts them to finish 7th in the league. They got a new quarterback. First of all, I don't care who the quarterback is. When Lane Kiffin's he proved it. He won an SEC championship with Blake Sims as the quarterback.
Right.
I don't care who the quarterback is. Lane Kiffin's going to figure it out.
Yep.
Okay. They don't have quite as much pressure on them to win this year.
Right.
I think that makes the difference. I'm not saying they go 11-1, but I could see them going 10-2,
Mhm.
finishing inside the top 5 of the SEC. So I'm going to go Ole Miss. I think they surprise a few people this year. And as far as a negative, I, it's kind of weird saying this. I think Vanderbilt's going to be a better team, but they're going to finish worse than what they finished last year.
Yeah.
So I think they have, they go 6-6 last year, Jake. I
Mhm.
think they're a better team this year, but they probably go 5-7.
Right.
So it's going to feel like a negative, but I'm not sure that it really is. But I don't think Vanderbilt, because they don't have the ability to catch people by surprise. That's
Yep.
gone.
Mhm.
Uh, the SEC has a year's worth of tape of Diego Pavia now and what they like to do inside that offense. Uh, and I think teams play them a little better this year. And, they were close to, I mean, despite Alabama playing so poorly there in Nashville and, a pick six happening to start that game and just kind of the way that game played out, Alabama should have beat them. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just just a weird game and a weird year for Vanderbilt last year. So I think they finish worse than what they did last year, and it's perceived as a negative. Even though I do think they're probably overall a better team than they were last year.
Yeah, I agree with all that, Stacy. And going to Ole Miss's point, real quick, I think I believe you're right on that as well because they don't have Texas, they don't have Alabama, they miss Texas A&M. So you got Kentucky, which is I know they lost to them last year. That's a very winnable game for them.
Hmm.
Arkansas, very winnable. Uh, they got LSU at home, so that helps in that game. They do got to go to Georgia. They did beat Georgia last year. Different circumstances this year, perhaps. They got Oklahoma. Oklahoma's probably going to be a lot better, like we talked about, but that's a winnable game for Ole Miss. South Carolina has to go to Ole Miss this year, and then Florida has to go to Ole Miss as well, and then Mississippi State's just we know about them. So you know, Ole Miss, like you said, the pressure's not on them to, win as much. The pressure for winning is not as high this year on them, but they could really sneak up and surprise some people because you don't have to. You missed Alabama and you missed Texas A&M and Texas, and that really favors you throughout the year.
Absolutely, great point.
Mhm.
I really think they could be a surprise team this year.
Yep.
All right, Jake, bold prediction for the SEC this year. I know I threw
Yeah.
these last 2 questions on you
Yeah.
without any warning, but
You're right. No, you
you
good.
love bold predictions. So
Oh yeah.
let's hear a bold prediction for overall in the SEC.
Overall, SEC. Um, I I can't believe I'm saying this, but I really like the makeup of this team. And they have a great coach, but I feel like Georgia's going to lose 3 games this year.
Ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
and I think they're going to be better. They really they just they struggled so bad on defense last year. I think they're going to be a lot better, especially on the Kirby. But the SEC is so tough now. There's so many good teams and all that. But I think Georgia loses 3 games this year. That may not keep them out of the playoffs. So that a lot of stuff has to happen in that. But that is my bold prediction. I'm saying Georgia loses 3 games.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty bold. That's pretty bold. And I only say that because not that it's just crazy to think about, but they get most of their tough games at home.
Hmm.
They get Alabama at home, they get Texas at home, they get Ole Miss at home. So you got to think they win at least 2 of those games.
Right.
And so, you gotta think. But
Right.
the whole Gunner Stockton situation, I do think they're better, uh, in terms of skill position on
Hmm.
offense, at wide receiver, at running back. Nate Frazier's back, a guy that we really like at running back. I love that kid at
I do
running back.
too. I
He
do
is
too.
a dog. But,
Hmm.
and they got some good weapons on the outside for Gunner Stockton. But can Gunner Stockton be good enough? That's
Right.
that's what it's gonna come down to because I'm with you. I do think they're gonna be better than they were defensively last year. They were just not that they were bad. It's just they're
Hmm.
not what we are used to seeing under Kirby Smart. And
Yep.
but I do think they'll be a little bit improved there as well. But
Hmm.
that's a bold prediction. 9-3. for the Georgia Bulldogs, according to Jake. All right, here's my bold prediction. I don't know whose is more bold. Let's see here. Let us know in the chat whose prediction is going to be more bold. Jake just told you his. He thinks Georgia loses 3 games this year in the regular season. My bold prediction is that Mississippi State doesn't finish last.
Okay. I love that too.
So I think Mississippi State is going to be – I don't think they're going to go to the bowl game. I don't
Right.
think anything like that. I think they finish ahead of Kentucky. I think they finish ahead of Vanderbilt. At
Okay.
least those 2 teams. And they may even finish ahead of Arkansas. So that's my bold prediction. Whose is more bold? Jake saying Georgia goes 9-3, or me saying that Mississippi State doesn't finish at the bottom of the SEC? Let us know in the live chat. And if you have to be watching the recorded version of the show, let us know in the comments which prediction is more bold. All right. Anything else on the SEC as a whole, Jake? I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I can't either. We touched it pretty good. I'm going to say a dark horse. Really not a dark horse.
I love it, Todd. Love it, Todd.
Yeah, I love that too. But a guy I think has a chance to probably be at one of the top guys in for the Heisman running is Lenore Sellers. I really love that kid. I think he's really good, and if he makes that next step this year, he's got to get down some of his deep passing. Now he can run the ball like crazy. I mean, he's fast as lightning.
Dude's a tank too.
He is. I mean, but if he can make that next step as a passer, he's going to be legit. So South Carolina is going to be tough this year, I believe. But
let's spend a minute on South Carolina.
Okay.
Their predicted order to finish is 5th in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And this almost was my bold prediction that they would finish outside the top 8.
Okay, interesting.
And the reason I say that, Jake, is they lost so much defensive talent.
They did.
They lost 2 of their 3 best defensive linemen. They lost their best linebacker. They lost their best defensive back.
Mm-hmm.
At places like Alabama and Texas and Georgia and LSU, you can replace that type of talent year in and year out and not have a tremendous drop off. You're going to have some, year to year, you're going to have different levels of drop off. But at South Carolina, where you're not recruiting inside the top 10 every single year, it's harder to replace that type of talent. I still worry about their offensive line. I'm not sure how – that's such a question mark for South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I worry about their defensive front 7. How far can Lenore Sellers take them? It's all going to be on him, Jake. And I think he is a talented dude. But it's different when you don't have a game-wrecking defense like they did last year with how disruptive that defensive front was. Now, they still have Dylan Stewart, who may be the best pass rusher and the best defensive player in the country. He's right up there.
Right.
But you don't have the guys to play off of now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they may have some guys emerge and become good players, but I just worry about their defense being good enough and that offensive line being good enough for them to finish inside the top 5 of the SEC. So South Carolina is a team that I have on my radar this year. Obviously they're on Alabama schedule. That's going to be a massive game there in Columbia. So I'm not saying they're not going to be a good team. I'm just not sure they have enough defensively, especially in terms of depth, not to compete, but to be inside that top 5 of the SEC.
Yeah, you make a great point, Stacey, on all that. And plus, Rocket Sanders not there to hand the ball off as well. So, they got to have a running back step up as well. Two things, of course. We touched on Lenore Sellers. He's a talented guy and like you said, a tank. And the other thing is, it seems like every single year since Shane Beamer has been there, we've talked about them regressing. He's a great coach. I don't know what it is. He gets his guys hyped to play. And I think last year everybody was saying they'd be tough to win, 8 games, and they end up winning 9. So, Shane Beamer has proven a lot to me that he has the type ability to be a great coach in the SEC. He just got to get the talent, like you said. So it is very interesting to see how they finish this year. But yeah, they did lose Kennard. I mean, Kennard just wrecked Alabama, it seemed like, all year last year, and everybody else that played for that
Yeah.
matter. So yeah, we'll have to see who's going to be opposite of Dylan Stewart, and if that guy can bring some pressure, because that people is going to probably double team Stewart this year, so he's got to find ways to get to the backfield as well. But it remains to be seen how good South Carolina can be. So yeah, they could easily be a top 5 team,
Yeah.
finish, or they can, like you said, be out of the top 8 to 10th or somewhere in there.
No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. One more question. I guess it's kind of a two. SEC Offensive Player of the Year and SEC Defensive Player of the Year. And by the way, y'all, I'm throwing these questions out at Jake, and he has no idea what's coming because we didn't do a lot of pre-planning on this. We just kind of said we'd talk about the SEC and media days, and it's kind of led into more conversations. But Jake, your pick for SEC Offensive Player of the Year and your pick for SEC Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm going to be a homer with the first pick, and that's Ryan Williams.
Okay.
And really a homer on the second pick. I really think a guy that doesn't get a lot of attention, but we've already talked about him a little bit this year. And I really think Xavier Brown is going to have a tremendous year. I think because a lot of the focus is going to be on Damani Jackson's side. A lot of people don't want to be throwing to him. Xavier Brown, we already seen what he can do in high pressure situations, especially against Georgia last year. So that kid's going to see a lot of balls his way, and I think he's going to code that field. And I think I'm another bold prediction. I say he's going to have at least 5 interceptions this year.
Ooh. All right. We're going to have a bold prediction show before the season starts.
I love those anyway, so yeah.
Because we usually do that anyway, but I think this year, especially considering how wide open the league is, bold predictions, I don't know that anything's bold now because anything's possible with all the parity in the league. But those are 2 good picks. I'm not going to be quite as homerish as Jake. I'm going to say that golly, Garrett Nussmeier is SEC Offensive Player of the Year, and I'm going to say I'll be a little homerish on this side. I say LT Overton is Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah,
LT Overton had 39 pressures last year and only had 2 sacks.
Yeah, that's changing this year.
I think he has more pressures this year, and if he would have had gotten 25% of the, on 25% of his pressures, if he would have got a sack, he would have had, 40. That'd have been almost 10 sacks.
Right.
I think he has 10 to 12 sacks this year. No telling how many tackles for loss, because he does such a good job of, the reason he's a 3-down player is because he does something that's hard to do for defensive linemen. You have a lot of guys like a Dylan Stewart who's just a pure pass rusher. He's so quick, he's so long, he's so athletic that he can just pin his ears back and go. LT Overton can do some of those things, but he don't have that length. He don't have that, ridiculous athleticism and quick twitch. He has a little bit of twitch, but what LT Overton does so well is he can go from playing it as a run and then it's a pass play, and shifting from a run play or as a run defender to a pass defender and getting after the quarterback. He does such a good job of that. So I think he's going to wreak havoc. I think he is going to have double-digit sacks and a lot of tackles for loss. So I'm going to go LT Overton as my Defensive Player of the Year and Garrett Nussmeier as my Offensive Player of the Year. Nussmeier is an experienced quarterback with plenty of talent around him. I think they're going to be a good team, and I just think he puts up some big numbers.
Yeah, I love those picks as well, Stacey. Talking about LT Overton, before we got on here, somebody had asked Grok, kind of the breakdown of how he AI sees, LT Overton stats, and they had him predicted at 9.5 sacks. So you're right on that. But the one that really surprised me, and if this happens, this defensive line at Alabama is going to be the best we've had in a long time. But they predicted that Tim Keenan will have at least 5 sacks this year.
What, 5?
Yeah.
Wow.
If that happens, I don't know how anybody's going to beat Alabama defensively.
Tim Keenan with 5 sacks. How many did he have last year?
I don't know. Yeah, look it up. But that really surprised me. Not as surprising to LT Overton, because like we talked about, if he would just finish the plays that he was in, he would have had at least 10 sacks last year.
Okay, Keenan had 2.5 in
Okay.
2024. So, I mean, he could double that. That just seems excessive. Wow.
It does.
I see James Smith potentially getting to 5, maybe a
Right.
Jeremiah Beeman even getting to 5, because
Mhm.
Tim Keenan is not really a pass rusher.
No, he's not.
He's the hog in the middle who just stuffs everything.
Exactly.
But, man, you're right, though. If he
Mhm.
got 5 sacks, good lord, how many sacks does this team have?
Yeah. If Overton has 10, James Smith's probably gonna have
About 5,
about
probably.
5. If Tim
3.5 to
Keenan
5.
Yep. Tim Keenan 3.5 to 5. And then you had, Russaw and whoever Collins or whoever else is on the outside as well. They're gonna have some stats. So this team could they get 35 or 40 sacks as a team this year?
Man, I don't
That's
know.
tough. That's tough.
That's tough. They
Mhm.
only had 25 last year.
Right. But
Um,
adding 5 more to LT Overton's, they have at least 30.
yeah, I guess but a lot of Kane Womack's defensive style and scheme is obviously they'll take sacks, but they like
Mhm.
to get pressure to create turnovers.
Exactly.
So I guess if I had to put a number on it, I would say 30 to 32 team sacks
Yeah, I
this
agree.
year. I do think they have more because they missed way too many opportunities last year, and I think they kind of make up for that a little bit. So I'm going to say between 30 and 35 is where I think that sweet spot is for this
Yep,
defense this year.
I agree.
All right, Jake. Before we head out, we do need to talk. Man, we've almost been going an hour. Let's talk about the Alabama players who landed on the All SEC preseason team. Two first team guys. Before we even talk about the guys, any surprises to you in terms of whether somebody who made the list of the three teams or somebody who didn't make the list?
Uh, I talked about both of them, but like a Demani Jackson, I figured he would have made it, and the Xavier Brown, so those guys missing.
Well, Devontae made second team.
He did make second team,
Yeah.
but Xavier Brown for sure.
Yeah.
I think him missing is a big one. So I figure his name will be on it next year for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Xavier Brown not being on any of those is a little surprising. I'm
Hmm.
surprised LT Overton didn't or Deontay Lawson didn't get first team defense.
Hmm.
And the other way, I'm a little surprised. We talked about this before the show started. Jam Miller making third team running back. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to have a really good year, but has he really proven that yet? I'm not
Right.
so sure. So that part's a little surprising, and of course, a lot of that comes down to who's back at the running back position in the SEC as well. So, but you look at there's a reason there's so many people optimistic about this offensive line. That's kind of what stuck out to me. You have
Hmm.
Caden Proctor on the first team, and then on the second team you have Jaden Roberts and
Hmm.
Parker Brailsford.
Hmm.
So three guys within the first two teams all SEC preseason. So that's promising as well. I'm surprised Jeremy Bernard did not make.
That's another surprising.
I mean, he was more consistent last year than Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
Now he didn't have the flashy plays that Ryan Williams had, but in terms of consistency, Jeremy Bernard was far more consistent than Ryan Williams.
Yep.
So that's a little surprising. Uh, other than that, it's pretty much par for the course. Not a ton of surprises, but I guess the biggest surprise is no first team defensive players for Alabama, and Xavier Brown not making the list is a little surprising to me because he actually graded out better than Demani Jackson did in pass coverage last year, according to
Hmm.
PFF. So
Yeah.
that part's a little surprising.
Yeah, I agree. And I think some guys that are sleepers, like you said, Jeremiah Bremen, I think he could be a guy that could potentially be a third guy next year,
Hmm.
or maybe even a second, because I think he's gonna surprise some people this year.
Okay, let's do this then. Another
Mhm.
question: a guy on offense who didn't make first, second, or third team, but will
Mhm.
make the first, second, or third team at the end of the year.
Um, you talked about Jam Miller and him making the third team, but there's so many running backs at Alabama that has potential to make that that next step. Jam's going to be the number one guy, but Richard Young to me, he just oozes talent, and I really think by later in the season he's going to get as many carries, or maybe there's a few more carries than Jim Miller, because I just don't see how you keep that dude off the field. He's a spark plug for this offense, I do believe.
I like that. I don't want to say too much about this um from an offensive player because I want to save it for a bowl prediction show.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go wide receiver Zay Horton.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'll tell you why later on in the bowl prediction show. So you have to make sure you're subscribed to our channel and turn on that bell notification so you get notified when we upload that video, because I think people are going to be surprised at what I have to say about Zay Horton. Defensively, Jake, what defensive player do you think that didn't make? We've already talked about, besides Xavier Brown, who didn't
Yeah.
make first, second, or third team preseason, but will make it at the end of the year.
I'm gonna go with another defensive lineman. I think James Smith.
Okay, love it.
I think he's going to have a big season.
I was down to two guys. James Smith is one of them. The other one's Quay Russaw.
Yep.
And much like Zay Horton, I want to save a lot of what I have to say for the bowl prediction show, because I think Quay Russaw has a chance to be freaking special.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to put up some numbers this fall.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jake, we have just about covered everything except for one final prediction that we're going to have here in just a second. But before we do all that, please do like, share, and subscribe here on our channel. We do want to reach 3,000 subs here on YouTube before August 30th. Make sure you hit that sub button. I haven't talked to Jake about this yet, but I have had so many people either DM me or at me on Twitter, or comment on the show, on one of the shows. Are we going to get back to doing what we call biscuits with Bama? Are we going to get back to doing our post game shows? I'm all in on that. I don't know what Jake's schedule's like, but in other words, we're going to try our best to do that as much as possible this year, because that was so much fun when we done that. So that's another reason, if you're not subscribed to their channel, which like 70% of our audience is not subscribed to the channel. So it doesn't cost you anything. Just hit that sub button. It's not going to charge you. It's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just smash that subscribe button, and it'll help us out tremendously. Help us reach 3,000 before the start of the college football season.
All you gotta do is just make a YouTube account, and then
if you just have a YouTube account, all you gotta do is hit that sub button, and it helps us out, and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to get notified when we do shows, hit that little bell that's beside that sub button, and you'll get a notification that we've either uploaded a new episode or that we're going live. So make sure you do that as well. All right, Jake, as we close out the show, SEC championship prediction. Let's do this. Give us who you got going to the SEC championship game in Atlanta, and who's going to be host the SEC champ this year.
I got a surprise as one finalist. I've already talked about one of my bowl predictions. I don't think Georgia, they lose 3 games, so they're more than likely out. I'm not, and I really didn't talk about this, but Texas is going to be good, but I'm not really sold on Arch Manning. He's going to be under pressure a lot, like you mentioned about the offensive line losing 4-star players. So I think Texas is out. Alabama, I'm not trying to be a homer here, but overall,
Jake, we are an Alabama show.
I know we are.
If people come here for something other than that, what are they here for? I mean,
exactly.
Duh.
Right. So talent-wise, Alabama, this is the deepest team that Alabama's had in a while. So Alabama is one of those teams. My surprise team, and I should have probably said this for a bowl prediction as well, but I'm saying Billy Napier get his shit together. And Florida makes the SEC championship game, but Alabama ultimately wins that game.
Jeez, oh my goodness. Wow.
You're looking at Florida, if that happens, as a 10-2 team, perhaps.
Wow. Man, I can't even follow that up. Holy
I'm full of surprises.
No doubt. No, I love it, man. I love it. Wow. Okay. So you got Bama winning it over Florida. I have Bama in it as well. No shocker there.
Man.
This is so tough. It's so
Yeah.
tough, Jake.
Hmm.
I think it's Bama versus LSU.
Wow.
I think it's a rematch, and I think Bama
Hmm.
gets them twice this year. I think Bama gets LSU twice this year. Once in
Yeah.
Tuscaloosa and once in Atlanta. Alabama's your SEC champ. Um, and yeah, no surprise there. I mean, my gosh, Jake, Florida.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I may change my mind 6 times before the start of the season.
I may do it too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident Alabama's going to make it. I really am.
Yeah.
Pretty confident.
Yep.
And that's with me trying to remove my crimson colored glasses as much as I possibly can. I
Hmm.
just really like this team. Really like this team.
Hmm.
Um, but man, it's just I think LSU's good. I think Georgia's good. I think Texas is good. I think South Carolina's got a good team. Florida's got a good team. I almost went Ole Miss, Jake. I
I
almost
know.
did. And
Yeah.
I may turn around and go Ole Miss. I don't know.
Right.
But I'll say this. Alabama's your SEC champ in 2025. And Todd earlier said that he thinks Bama's win the Natty. That's his bold prediction. Um, I'm feeling it, man. I think they're going to make a run for it. I think they're going to make a run for
Yeah.
it. But that's our go ahead.
I'm just going to say two things real quick. Removing our Clemson colored glasses, even if we was not fans of this team, it would be hard for any other fan base, especially in SEC, to not see the type of players and how deep this team is and how talented this team is, to not mention them in at least a playoff discussion, even in SEC contention this year as well. And the other thing is with LSU, I was sitting here thinking for a while now, there's a chance if that happens, Alabama potentially could see LSU 3 times because they could potentially get in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, I mean that is
That's insane to
it's
think about.
insane to think about. It really
Yeah.
is. And I'm
Hmm.
trying to find this. You talked about the talent.
Hmm.
I don't know if you saw 247 release the blue chip ratio for 2025 on roster.
Hmm.
Guess guess who has the biggest percentage of blue chip ratio on their roster?
Alabama, I guess. I guarantee.
Alabama and Ohio State are tied
Yeah.
for first. They
Makes sense.
89% of their roster are blue chip players. Then it's
Yeah.
Georgia, A&M, Oregon, Texas, LSU, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma.
No doubt about it.
So we talked about Oklahoma earlier in the show, Jake. They got talent.
They
They
do.
got talent. They got a quarterback now.
Hmm.
Can they figure it out? That's a team to watch. That's a team to watch. All
Yep.
right, Jake. Before we're gonna give away all our preseason content if we don't get off of here
I
because
know.
we gotta do a show on bowl predictions and we
Hmm.
got to kind of do a full Bama breakdown before the start of the season. So
Still got our offensive depth chart
yeah,
to go through.
we finished our defensive depth chart. So if
Hmm.
you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch that or listen to it on podcast platform. Uh, but we got to get our depth chart projection for offense as well. But we're going to wrap up today's show. What a fun show, Jake.
Man, it
Love
was.
these lives.
Hmm.
Guys, thank you for who joined in on the live chat. We appreciate you guys. If you watching the recorded version, jump in the comment section. Let us know some bold predictions. Let us know, your thoughts on the order of finish, your SEC players of the years and stuff like that. Hey, real quick, coach of the year in the SEC. I already know it's got to be Billy Napier if you think they make the SEC
Yeah.
championship.
Billy Napier and you had to say Kalen
Yeah.
DeBoer if they,
Well,
if
I'm sorry.
Alabama
Even if
said,
Alabama wins the SEC,
yeah,
if Florida makes the conference championship, it's got to be Billy Napier.
absolutely. Yeah.
So I love that pick.
Hmm.
I'm going to go Kalen DeBoer with my sleeper being Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, guys. Hey, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, man. Clinton, you're joining an hour in, buddy.
Man,
Glad to
I'm glad
have
to
you.
have you. Yeah.
Glad to have you, buddy. But we're wrapping it up because if we don't wrap it up, we're going to give away the rest of our content for the summer. We can't do that.
I could talk all day about
I could
Alabama
talk all
football.
day about
Yeah.
this, and I'm really enjoying it. But we're going to wrap the show. But Clinton, thank you so much for
Go back and
joining
watch.
in.
Yeah, go back and watch it.
Yeah, go back and watch the episode. But guys, thank you so much for watching. We really enjoyed it. Please do like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. Find us on podcast platform and give us a sub there or a follow and leave us those written reviews there on Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. But that's going to wrap it up for Stacey Blackwood and Jake Thomas. This has been Tide Talk Live. We'll see you soon. But until then, roll Tide.
Roll Tide.